Welcome back to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, people, with Steele and Flip, and it's time to get very, very serious. We have hockey back. We are doing a draft with our listeners live on air today. All kinds of special reaction and breakdowns. Thank you for joining us. Let's get right to it.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Look, we're halfway through this draft right now. We're just getting into the 11th round. We're 56 minutes into, this draft already, halfway through. Flip, you're 3 picks away with your next selection. You're looking left wing, right wing, defenseman. You're looking for your third goalie. What are you looking at right now?
I think taking a third goalie is always a really great option. Again, I mentioned the second that we start doing that, they're going to fly off the board. And you brought it up, Steele. If an injury goes down to one of your guys, it can almost cripple you right off the bat because – we've seen Shesterkin, we've seen Vasilevsky, we've seen those elite goalies put up great seasons, and those are the kind of seasons that carry fantasy teams. Do I think these goalies that are left are going to have those elite kind of seasons? Samsonov, Allmark, Jonathan Quick, Ville Husso, some of these other names on the board? No, I don't. But you know what I'm comfortable doing, Steele? Taking a risk on a guy who is going to definitely get number 1 minutes to start the year and Anton Forsberg as my number 3 goalie.
Really? That's pretty early, Flip. That's pretty early. But we talked with the Ottawa Senators, the Locked On Sens guys. They really love this guy. They really do love this guy.
It's early. I will agree on that, but it might be a steal. It might be no pun intended, but it actually might be a steal if he's also going to be on, if those Senators go on a heater, I'm dropping this guy in and letting him get as many opportunities before Cam Talbot gets back. A little bit early, but I'm doing things a bit different on today's episode, Steele.
A little bit different. I'm looking at 2 guys right now. I'm trying to stack my forward group. Nazem Kadri still on the board. What do you think about Michael Bunting, though? Michael Bunting obviously playing with Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews.
I like it because I think anyone who watches hockey knows we are unsure what happens to the Maple Leafs once they enter the postseason. Regular season, this team is going to score a ton of goals.
Oh, yes.
So we can, I think, be comfortable with taking anyone who's going to get regular minutes with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner.
Yeah, so I'm looking at Michael. But look, they have Nazem Kadri very, very low to my surprise. He had 28 goals and 59 assists last year, obviously with the Colorado Avalanche, but they only have him at 25 goals and 32 assists this next season with the Flames. So they're expecting a big drop off in his production.
Yeah, there's been so much going on in Calgary. I haven't really thought about what his overall point total will be. Naz is going to have another good season, but maybe that's the way to look at it because he's not with Colorado. I'm more interested in your next pick, Steele, because you're on the clock and then you have another one coming right up.
Look, I will say this, getting pucks in deep. Not sure who exactly that is. He selected Tanner Jeannot, though. He's been listening to the podcast. Maybe a little bit too early, but I really do like Tanner Jeannot this upcoming season. I'm going to go with Michael Bunting. I like him he reminds me a lot of the Zach Hyman-esque type of player. He does all the dirty work in the corners. He goes hard to the net. I think he's going to be great on that top line again with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner.
Yeah, and that is a take that I'm very, very comfortable with backing.
And Nazem Kadri goes off the board next pick.
Tanner Jeannot, though, hey. Little early for Tanner.
Yeah, I think Tanner Jeannot, round 11, pick 8 in round 11. I'm going to go with Claude Giroux as my next pick. He's got all 3 dual eligibility, center, left wing, and right wing. We know the top 6 forward group is going to be absolutely electric. He's already found that chemistry with Alex DeBrincat in the preseason. They were one of the best guys to watch in the preseason as well.
Yeah. There's the hype around the teams that have added the pieces as the Senators have done. This is what I mean. I just need to get down to business here, Steele. But the Giroux pick, I think now that the pressure's off of him being, that guy
That
and,
top guy, yeah.
on just a really bad losing team in Philadelphia, we saw what he was able to do with Florida. I think that's a sneaky good pick for you. And again, the dual eligibility, like, why you can't go wrong, right?
No, I don't think you can go, especially with all three of those positions as well.
Yeah, I need a winger, Steele. I'm up here in a pick. I have 2 left wing spots open. I have 2 right wing spots open. I need someone on the wing. Things are getting dicey here.
We
Braden
need to.
Shen down the list.
You're up in
Matt
2
Boldy
picks.
is there down the list. Clayton Keller, Ryan Nugent Hopkins, dual eligibility. Oh my goodness, Steele. The pressure's on now.
Look, I'm. Oh, you're. I want to talk about this, but after your selection, who are you looking at again right now?
I was also looking at Mark Stone. I need to take a winger. My goodness, here. The Edmonton Oilers are going to score so many goals that I really did want one of their top pieces in my mix. And the fact that Ryan Nugent Hopkins does have dual eligibility, I'm okay with it. But now, Steele, things are about to get slippery. I'm taking Ryan Nugent Hopkins.
I don't think that's a bad selection at all, especially to end, the 12th round. Brian Rust goes next. I want to talk about this, though. I'm looking at the Whiskey Dekes roster right now. He's got John Tavares, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, and Ilya Samsonov. He's got 4 Toronto Maple Leaf players on his roster right now. Obviously, 3 of them being absolutely rock stars.
And I got to tell you about betonline.net, your number one source for football betting this season. Find all of the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every single game you can find. As always, BetOnline remains your number one continued source for all of your wagering info, live betting, up-to-the-minute stats, and every sport out there. It is the fastest and easiest way for you to check in on all of your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to betonline.net today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet online, where the game starts. Are we sure that is not one of our fathers or one of our uncles who have had too many wobbly pops and got in here and just done this for fun? We're going to have to confirm, because that is not a good strategy, my friends. As much as I appreciate that commitment, I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, Steele. Hey.
Great players, but a lot of Toronto Maple Leaf guys.
If they go on a run to the Cup, Steele, on some historic... No, I'm kidding. That's just too bold.
Don't say that right now. Don't say that.
No, it's just too bold.
You're jinxing it too early. You're jinxing it too early.
Yeah, well, hey.
I do want to say this, though. Tyler Seguin, round 12, pick 10. The Golden Girls selected him. That was a guy I was probably looking at for my next selection, who I've talked about as a bounce-back player for this upcoming year.
We've talked about a few bounce-back players, and if you can peg one of those guys on your lineups, and it's not an exact science to selecting these guys, but that really can, take you over the top, Steele, or also start you off on the right foot, because there's nothing worse than having a good vibe with your lineup, a good vibe with your roster, and getting dealt a couple of bad injury blows, because you have to get a little bit lucky here, because there's only so much you can do if, your key pieces that you were relying on go down early. You're going to have to get a little shifty with maneuvering your team.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're going to have to do, because, look, I'm already struggling right now to find some defensemen who I like for my next selection on the back end.
I told you.
It's getting tough right now. It's getting real tough right now.
It's getting tough, but thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for listening to these episodes where we are doing the fan base listener draft. We are doing it live on air. If you are only listening, we got the video up on YouTube. Make sure you check us out on YouTube and subscribe. And thank you for tuning in. And if you are a listener or a fan who is in the league, thank you as well for showing that interest and joining us for this draft. And we hope it's been a decent listen, because at the end of the day, all that matters, Steele, is, aside from hopefully you and I finishing 1-2 in this league, we're a little biased, but we want to look good, is you guys getting some good fantasy advice out there. So that is the main point, and I hope you're getting that.
That is the main takeaway. Hopefully that we're helping you and giving you some insight for your fantasy draft so you can win those leagues yourself, and then leave some comments saying, hey, Steele, hey, Flip, I won my fantasy league all thanks to you in the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast. That's what we're looking for. That's why we do this every single day.
That
Flip,
would
you're
be
on the clock,
ideal.
though. You're
on the clock. I am on the clock, Steele, and trust me, I am not sleeping. I read a really good article on NHL.com the other day. I don't like to give them that much love, but it was a good one, talking about there's a couple of pieces on the Buffalo Sabres, not one, but a couple that could be in the mix for that Calder Trophy. Owen Power is coming on my team. I think he is going to have a big year. There's Pionk out there, Rasmus Ristolainen, your boy Gavrikov, Damon Severson after a good year. Owen Power is a first overall draft pick. He's going to be a disgusting D-man, and I like that he's on my team.
Another rookie just got selected too. Matty Beniers, round 13, pick 6.
I like it, because now we're getting spicy, Steele.
Look, he was in my queue as well. I've got a player that honestly, I can't believe he's still on the board at this point, but obviously people are passing up on him because he plays for the Arizona Coyotes. Maybe you can look at the screen right now. Clayton Keller.
Yeah.
He is day to day, but look, he only played, he
fine.
played 67 games last year. If he can remain healthy, this kid is the best player for the Arizona Coyotes. I think he's ahead of Jakob Chychrun. I think he's ahead of other guys on the, Nick Schmaltz as well, who had a kind of a breakout season that was surprising to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But Clayton Keller is obviously their best player, and it kind of sucks that he plays for the Coyotes because it's really hurting his career.
Clayton Keller has what it takes to be a speedy snipester in this league. He's just been hindered by, you mentioned maybe a couple of injuries, but being hindered by what's around him in Arizona. But I think he might be one of those sneaky under the radar Steele picks. Hey, it's getting late in this draft. We're now in the 13th round of 20. Things are going to get interesting, and why not take a guy who's clearly been able to get it done offensively, just maybe hindered a bit by what's around him?
Yeah, just reading this as well, the Coyotes held Keller out of Friday's preseason game against Vancouver for precautionary reasons. He did skate Saturday or Friday morning, but didn't play in Friday's contest as he was initially expected. So they're just keeping, obviously for precautionary reasons here. They want to make sure that he's good to go. And it sounds like he's still on course to play October 13th versus Pittsburgh in Arizona for the regular season opener. So that's some good news right there. I think he's going to be my next selection. Plus, he's got the eligibility of playing center, left winger, right winger.
Hey, we love that. These are some of those options that if injuries strike, the dual eligibility will save your skin. Steele, you're back up on the clock. What's happening here?
Yeah, I'm going with Clayton Keller here. I think he's a young player who just has a very unfortunate team that he plays for.
And you're right back up on the clock, so what's next?
What's next? I'm looking over at Zach Hyman. Might be a little bit of an early pick.
No, that's fine. I like it.
I like Zach Hyman, though.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be playing with either Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl. He's going to put up over 50 points, over 200 shots. He does all the dirty work for them. His plus minus should go up through the roof, I believe, especially with the, obviously the better goaltending they've got this year. So I'm going Zach Hyman.
Zach Hyman has proven that playing on the Toronto Maple Leafs was not a fluke in terms of his offensive output.
Not at all.
Not at all. And I know the Edmonton Oilers also can get it done offensively. I like what I've seen from Zach Hyman in the chemistry department. He plays a nasty game, and he is committed to winning with this team, signs the contract. He's going to have a good year, Steele. I'm on the clock here in a couple of picks. I need a left winger, and I need 2 right wingers before I fill out my utility and my bench spots. We are getting there, people. We are almost at the end of the draft. A few more rounds here to go. I know, Steele, that the preseason doesn't mean a whole lot as in terms of how teams are really going to do, but I think it is more an indication of how individual players might do. And Mikhail Granlund has looked really good for the
Yeah.
Nashville Predators. I don't think you and I can sit here on this podcast and talk up the Nashville Predators as much as we've done without snagging at least one of them per of our roster. I'm going to take a deep look at Mikhail Granlund here also. Left wing eligibility, center eligibility, right wing eligibility. And he's already proven that he's got some chemistry with that new addition in Nino Niederreiter. Unless he comes off the board here with the 2 picks ahead of me, he will be coming onto my roster.
Look, he puts up a ton of points. He's going to have over 60 points this year. The only problem with Granlund is that he doesn't have a ton of shots, blocks, or hits. But
Yeah.
again, he seems to have
Good
found
point.
that chemistry so far. Is Nino Niederreiter still on the board? Yeah, he is. Nino Niederreiter is still on the board as well.
Yeah. Hey, Riley Smith. We talked about some of these waiver wire ads. We might not get an opportunity to get them on the waiver wire in this league, Steele, because they're going to be taken near the end of the draft. Riley Smith is going to be playing on that top line. We have some interesting pieces down the lineup, down this roster, sorry. Mason Marchment has had a great preseason, speaking of good preseasons. So do those small sample sizes always translate into good fantasy seasons overall? Of course not. But you can't help but be intrigued by some of them, and Mikhail Granlund is one of them, so I'm feeling that.
Yeah, I think, we've already kind of seen that. Yeah, we've seen the Nashville Predators play in the global series so far. Sorry, I'm getting a little distracted with this group chat over here. Yeah. Adam Gold, 2 of my last 3 picks have been Ryan's now. There's a lot of confusion over here in St. Louis.
Hey, shout out to our American listeners
down
south. You're not doing the turkeys over the last couple of days, but we still appreciate you, and we appreciate whoever is riding with us and listening to all of this draft content. It has been a wild ride, Steele, and I'm running short on gas here, brother.
Look, we're gonna have to give you some fuel because we got some time to go still, Flip. We're just getting into the 15th round. We've got 6 more selections each, I believe. Yeah, 6 more selections, 4 bench spots for me and 2 defensemen for myself. But look, there's still a lot of decent players out here. I'm really finding a hard time of who I want to pick with my next selection.
This is what's going to happen here, Steele. And hey, at this point, though, if you're kind of comfortable with what you've done, and you and I have kind of discussed this a little bit, it might be worth taking a few shots off the board, maybe going with some of that pre-draft research you've done, some of the angles or some of the younger players you're liking. This might be the time to, pounce on those because those top-tier options are running very, very thin.
Yeah, the guy who you've talked about, Jakub Vrana, I was actually just looking at. He just got selected as the first pick in round 15.
Yeah, well, he was one of my big-time bounce-back category or picks for this season. The Detroit Red Wings are going to be improved. Those pieces around that they added, the Andrew Kopps of the world. Oh, there goes my boy Seth Jarvis.
There he goes.
Before my selection. Oh, my goodness. That's the actually Steele. Oh, and someone says, sorry, Flip.
Look, this is why they tune in. This is why they were randomly selected.
No.
They obviously know they're starting the banter early, Flip. They're coming after you.
They clearly are. I want to go back to the right wing position because I still have 2 empty slots there, even though Mikhail Granlund can move around for me. I got Wheeler. I got Brock Besser, who's, been dealing with injuries a little bit. Steele, now things are getting concerning, but one team that I think is still going to score a lot of goals this year, and a guy that I've liked is Andrew Mangiapane, and I'm going to go there. I'm taking him.
I like that selection. Look, he's going to be playing with Nazem Kadri as well on the second line, I believe. It's going to be, in the 15th round, that's a good selection. We're in the 15th round right now. We're getting close to the end of this draft. We're over an hour and 15.
Yes,
We're over an
sir.
hour and
But
15
it's
into
been
this
a
draft
treat,
right now.
Steele. It's been a treat. Brock Besser's getting chirped. I'm getting chirped. That Seth Jarvis pick really did throw me for a loop, Steele, especially because of how much I've been talking him up. But you said this a couple episodes ago, and it really was a good point. We only have we're at the whims of our listeners because we just continue to put our opinions and our picks out there. These people know where we're going. So, maybe I'm preambling if our teams don't do well, but hey, maybe we recap what we have done so far. I have Nick Suzuki, Thomas Hertl, Adrian Kempe at the center position, Kaprizov, Nugent Hopkins, and Granlund currently slotted into my left side, but obviously that can fluctuate. I got Liney and Mangiapane on the right side, Adam Fox, Seth Jones, Sergachev, and Power on my D line, Sorokin, Yari, and Forsberg. Steele, my forward group might be a bit spotty, but I'm feeling my blue line in goaltending. How are you looking over there before you fire off 2 picks?
Look, I really like the output of my team right now. Steven Stamkos, Jack Eichel, Braden Point, Johnny Gaudreau, Nikolai Ehlers, Michael Bunting, Mikko Rantanen, Claude Giroux, Clayton Keller, Aaron Ekblad, Devin Taves, Zach Hyman, Andre Vasilevsky, and Marc-Andre Fleury. I still need 2 defensemen and my four bench players as well. I like the look of my team so far. Obviously my defensemen are hurting a little bit because I only have 2 of them, and they're not outstanding, but nonetheless, I really like the output of my team so far. I really like who I've selected.
I like who you've selected too. Obviously, we're biased because if it's not me crushing the league, which, hey, I don't think I'm crushing this league. Like, this is a bit spotty here. I like what I have too. But it has been so long since we've actually seen regular season action that I need this puck to drop. So I need your pick to drop as well.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. I need a defenseman. I've got Jakob Slavin, Noah Hannafin, and Jared Spurgeon right here, who I'm looking at. I think I'm going to go Jared Spurgeon. Actually, I'm going to go Jakob Slavin. I'm going to go Slavin here.
Okay. The offensive output might be a concern, but he's so good and he's playing in that top 4 in Carolina. Hey, he's probably going to get a look with Brent Burns as well. So, hey, I don't hate it, but I'm going to start chirping some of these picks. That's for sure.
Yeah, because we're getting down to the nitty gritty here. You really got to be careful with who you're selecting here. I'm going down the board a little bit. Jonathan Quick still on the board. I still like my 2 defensemen here. Andrew Kopp's got eligibility for all positions. I'm going to take a shot right now. Alexis Lafreniere. We haven't talked about him a lot, but we have talked about the Rangers. Okay. He's going to be playing on that top line with Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider. So I'm going to go Alexis Lafreniere.
Yeah, a little off the board, but I don't hate it. These are those moments that you can start doing this because you might as well now. You've waited the draft. There's not a lot of, really top tier options left. So these last few rounds really can make or break you. I'm coming up in a few picks. I have to, I'm going to fill out my right wing position and then it's bench left. So the pieces that I'm looking at here, Steele, again, I mentioned a couple of the names. Maybe down the list, we got Connor Garland, Yanni Gord. I don't know here, Steele. Mason Marchment, I mentioned. Yeesh. Things are getting interesting, aren't they?
They are getting very interesting. We've only got 5 players left to select here. We're getting down, again, to the nitty gritty, like I said. It's getting it. Look, there's Nico Hischier still on the board. That is very surprising. I know he's on the IR, though. That. He's on the IR. Hischier hamstring was placed on injured reserve Monday by the Devils. He's retroactive. Hischier is retroactive to September 26th, so he can still be activated when he is ready for return. However, it is unclear if he will be available for Thursday's season opener against Philadelphia. So he might not be ready to start the season, but
he'll be back.
Who knows?
He's not going to miss more than a couple games, if that. So, Nico Hischier. Okay. I'm looking at a few guys here, Steele. I'm looking at a few guys.
All right. There we go.
I'm gonna just start, honestly, I'm gonna start going a little bit more off the board. I like some of these players down this target. Mason Marchment has dual eligibility. Wow, he was just taken.
Yeah.
So that's gonna throw me for a bit of a loop.
This guy's
But
hacking right now.
hey, this is what happens, Steele, and I'm okay with it because we're professionals. Andrew Kopp, I'm concerned about the chemistry angle. That triple eligibility at positions, though, off a good season, I think the Detroit Red Wings will score a bunch of goals this year. I definitely was going to take Mason Marchment. I will take Andrew Kopp to fill out the bottom of my lineup, but holy Steele, this is getting dicey.
Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Don't forget, we are free and available on all podcast platforms, which also includes YouTube. So make sure you hit the subscribe. Make sure you hit the follow button. Flip and I appreciate all the love and support out there. If you have any bets on the hockey games to start the regular season, good luck with your money out there. And we shall see you back here again tomorrow for more of the Fantasy Hockey Draft.